Hello everyone, this is Christian Duque, MD Noble Weekly, episode 18, brought to you courtesy of IronMagLabs.com, your go-to source for all your bodybuilding and fitness supplements. Also, be sure to check out Muscle Gels, topical muscle enhancement gels, available at musclegels.com. Today is Wednesday, October 18th. We have a packed show to talk about. The central theme of it will be loyalty. Today I had the rare opportunity to speak once again with someone that I look up to greatly in this industry. I'm talking about MPC President, IFBB Pro League President, Mr. Jim Manion. We had about a 20-25 minute phone conversation. It was very interesting to me because I was able to ask him any questions I wanted. And as always, Jim was totally candid with me. I also made some suggestions about some things that I would like to do for the Federation in 2018, about some roles that I would like to take, especially when it comes to press passes, especially when it comes to media outlets that may or may not be loyal to our organizations. And I say our organizations because I stand in spirit with the IFBB Pro League and the National Physique Committee, and I don't think that it's appropriate for news agencies that essentially run our federations through the mud, our officials, our judges, our competitions, our promoters, even sometimes our competitors, and then expect to get Arnold Classic and Mr. Olympia press passes so that they can take the photos and do the interviews and interact with our fans and interact with our sponsors so that they can then have content for their websites, have content to sell to get advertising money so that they can continue the vicious cycle all throughout the year of attacking us and attacking everything we stand for. And I think in 2018, that's just not going to fly. So if you attack the NPC, if you attack the IFBB Pro League, you can expect not to get a press pass at the Arnold Classic or the Mr. Olympia. I mean, you want to attack us, that's great, but we're not going to help you get rich at it. You know what I mean? Another thing that we spoke about was the hiring, if you can even call it that, of Wayne D'Amelia by Rafael Santoja for the IFBB USA National Federation or whatever he's calling it. And much like I said on my video, it didn't register. Everybody's like, oh, this is groundbreaking. It's not. It's not groundbreaking news. He was a good promoter back in the day when everybody worked with him. But, if memory serves me correctly, his PDI was a complete failure. If memory serves me correctly, anything from the deep pockets of Vince McMahon to, his PDI, to the recent NSL, and to anything in the future that comes into competition with the NPC, it's going to fail because the NPC is the quality. The NPC is the respect. The NPC has the history. It has the future. Think about it this way. The reason that we have this issue right now with the IFBB Amateur is because of the fact that the NPC was presented as a choice that Mr. Tim Gardner brought to Puerto Rico, as a choice that Mr. Gary Udit will hopefully be able to bring to Mexico. It is simply a choice. No one is trying to impose the NPC on anyone. Bob Ciccarello did a great press conference in the United Kingdom in which he said to the folks there, you can compete in any federation that you want. You can get a pro card in any federation that you want. Now, the IFBB Pro League is not going to recognize that pro card, but you can compete wherever you want. Now, the IFBB Pro League is the only road to the Mr. Olympia. So there are going to be IFBB Pro League qualifying events, pro qualifying events all around the world. So if an athlete from another country wants to go to the Mr. Olympia, they can compete as an amateur in an IFBB Pro League event, a pro qualifying event, where they can earn a pro card. Once they earn the pro card, now they have a vehicle, they have a road to getting to the Mr. Olympia, which is the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. The man that has the Sandow, the man that holds the Sandow, is the #1 greatest bodybuilder in the world, bar none, uncontested. And that's what every bodybuilder aspires to one day become, is Mr. Olympia. The Arnold Classic is another absolutely outstanding, historic, groundbreaking event, second to the Mr. Olympia, but nonetheless an amazing event. You can only do the Arnold Classic here in America, through the best of my knowledge, through the IFBB Pro League. And hopefully all of the other Arnold Classics around the world will be the same. It's not a question of having to impose. It's not a question of forcing. It's not. It's simply where the quality is. It's where, listen, the IFBB Pro League is going to make more money and more opportunities for the athletes. It's going to make more money and more opportunities for the promoters. It's going to take our transparent, fair judging that we have here in America all around the world. You know, there are countless folks, year after year, that I personally interview, give write-ups to, do podcasts with from Canada and from Mexico, that come in droves to Gary Udit's IFBB North American Championships every year because they want to get a pro card there as opposed to in their countries, because they get fair judging there and because they are part and parcel to a first-class production there. Okay, and so bringing that option to Latin America and supporting the introduction of bringing that option to Latin America is precisely, in my opinion, what got MD Latino CEO and editor-in-chief Kit Sanderson declared persona non grata. Now, let me ask you a quick question. You know, Kit, Hector Mendoza, that whole team, that's a magazine. That's a real magazine with mass circulation. And that's how you determine one of the aspects of a real magazine is mass circulation. They have one of the best photographers in the game, Hector Mendoza. Kit Sanderson is an amazing interviewer. I learned so much from him at this year's Southern States, getting to interview the great Sergio Oliva Jr. with him. I got to learn tons. He is a first-class interviewer, first-class producer. I got to meet Hector Mendoza here at the Kentucky Muscle Posing Clinic last Sunday at Powerhouse Gym in Louisville. Fantastic photographer. I mean, just jaw-dropping. So, with this letter, this persona non grata that basically prevents Kit now from covering any IFBB amateur event in all of Latin America, how does that help the promoters? How does that help the sport? How does that help the athletes? You're cutting them off from the greatest exposure they ever had. And why? Because Kit Sanderson is loyal, 110% loyal to Mr. Jim Mannion, to the IFBB Pro League, and to the NPC. But it's because of that choice between the NPC and the IFBB Amateur that Kit has been basically banned, and why we are at war, and why I believe that Dr. Rafael Santoja has decided to create this USA National Federation, or whatever it's called, and have Wayne DeMilia lead it up. Because I see that as nothing more than a satellite group for Mr. Santoja, and whoever leads it, I see them as nothing more than a puppet. Just calling it as I see them, you know? And Bob Ciccarello today gave a great press conference in the United Kingdom and addressed all these points. It's about opportunities. It's about growing the sport. It's about, you know, making more money for the promoters, giving more opportunities to the athletes, giving the fans more to look at, more of a reason to buy a ticket. I mean, this is what Mr. Jim Mannion's been about, is growing the sport. I mean, just look at Puerto Rico. I mean, you know, the writing's on the wall there, you know? People are fed up with how things were run. They want something better. You look at Puerto Rico. Do you think anyone from the IFBB Amateur in Puerto Rico could put on a production like Mr. Tim Gardner? No. That's why the folks, I think the battle's been pretty much won. I mean, they're holding out. The other side is holding out, but it doesn't mean that it's a fair fight. It isn't. We have a much better option for all parties involved. They cannot compete with us. And so I think what they want to do is they want to prevent competition. Well, we're the United States. This is capitalism. It's all about competition. It's all about having different alternatives. Let the best option win in a free market type situation. I mean, you want to control the market and say, no, this is all you get. This is all you get. This is the only model that's accepted. No. Let the athlete decide. You care so much about the athlete, right? Let the athlete decide. And look at Puerto Rico. I mean, Puerto Rico, I would say the vast majority of athletes there have chosen the NPC over the IFBB amateur model. And I suspect the same would happen in Mexico and Colombia and Brazil and Chile and La Argentina and Paraguay and Bolivia. And that probably keeps them up at night, all night, because they are behind a failed model that will not grow the sport. And with all due respect to the dream of Ben Weider, bodybuilding in the Olympics is not good for the athletes. It's not good for the promoters. It's not good for the advertisers. And it's not good for the fans. It's only good for a few bureaucrats in a few countries that still give out money to sports that get to the Olympics. That's it. That's it. So, Ben Weider was a great, great man. But even the greatest of men sometimes have dreams that are not really good dreams. He had many dreams. That happened to be one of them. I personally don't think bodybuilding Olympics will do anything for the sport. I don't think going to the Pan American Games will do anything for the sport. I think our sport is a cult sport that can grow very, very much and be very, very successful on its own terms. We don't need the Olympics. Now, something that I did find interesting was Kai Greene. Kai Greene was, on the treadmill, waxing intellectual, waxing philosopher, and saying, Bob Ciccarello, because here's the thing, everybody's attacking Bob. Now, I made another one of these videos, and I had to redo it because it was too long. I talk too much, and who would have thunk it, right? But everyone's attacking Bob because Bob is a loyal guy, and Bob did a great press conference. And, Bob's been in front of all of this, answering questions and giving insights. And really, he's gone from the MC role, the athlete reps role, the media person's role. Now, Bob is really assuming a very important role in the leadership of the future. And he is a public face of the future. And people just can't get, they're just furious. And Kai Greene's saying, well, he's on their format and has to say what they say, and he's not objective. And then he says, but Louis Marco, and see, the thing is, Louis Marco is not that objective. He's becoming basically a lapdog of Oxygen Gym and Kuwaiti bodybuilding. If I was and I said it on my last show, but I think Badr Budai is a pioneer. I think he's an innovator, and he's rewriting the book on how to put on successful productions. If I was Badr Budai, I would have most definitely brought Louis to my show, because Louis is the most popular, the most outspoken YouTube vlogger, rarely if ever seen at a show. He's got Mr. Olympias talking about him the second they walk off stage. After winning 7 Mr. Olympias, the first thing they have to talk about is Louis Marco. It was genius to court that guy and get him at a show. It was genius. But the fact is that, I feel like he is being treated a certain way, given access to bodybuilders and being included in, the lion's share of the PR and being placed strategically because of the fact that he's so popular. Come on, guys. Rock bands have been doing it forever with critics. The movie, what's the movie? I forget. But anyways, it's been happening forever with the Rolling Stone journalist that follows the band around, and he writes pieces, and that's just how it is. And companies do the same thing, restaurants do the same thing with folks that come into from a big, chef magazine or something or whatever, They Almost Famous is a movie, I believe is what it's called. I think that's the movie I'm talking about. But anyways, even if it's not, who cares? Point is it's just an example. It's just an example. But the thing is, it's part of PR. It's really what it is. It's PR. You know what I mean? But the thing is, with that PR, there comes a price, and the people on YouTube are seeing him, and they're seeing the access that he's getting, and his objectivity, his credibility is going to start to tank a little bit because he's going to be seen as basically a lapdog. But that's not really what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is it's interesting that Kai Greene, who's a very, very bitter person, because he never won a Mr. Olympia, because he's been given ample opportunities to win the Mr. Olympia, because he showed the utmost disrespect to Jim Mannion, who gave him a special invitation, not saying I accept it, not saying I decline, just simply ignoring the most important man in bodybuilding, in my humble opinion, and that of many other people. And he's just bitter. He's bitter. And the idea that Kai Greene, with the audience that he has, the size of the audience that he has, the international import that he has, going to India and going to Pakistan and China and South America, North America, Europe and Asia and Australia, that he would say that Louis Marco, some YouTube troll, is a better representative to bodybuilding, a better representative than Bob Chicrillo, who's a Mr. USA, a Mr. World, an MC extraordinaire, a pioneer of Pro Bodybuilding Weekly, an athlete's rep, to me suggests just how bitter, jaded, and off point he is. The reality, my friends, in closing, is that the IFBB Pro League is going to be the vehicle to grow bodybuilding like bodybuilding has never been grown before. And that's all I have to say, with one exception. I'd like to once again give kudos to my good friend, MD Latino CEO and Editor-in-Chief Kit Sanderson, for his undying, unquestioning, unflinching loyalty to Mr. Jim Manion, the IFBB Pro League, the NPC, and the sport we all know and love, the sport of bodybuilding. Till next week, this is Christian Duque, MD, No Bull Weekly.